Greetings, fellow YouTubers. So apparently this is the weirdest moving, weirdest looking, weirdest sounding looking guy on YouTube talking to you, coming at you with this particular video, thinking about particular things. There's recently been a lot of controversy about Captain Marvel. A lot of controversy. I'm sure we've all seen it. Whether it's Brie Larson turning around saying that she wants less white dudes who are on her press junket, whether she wants to stop hearing the opinions of white dudes because movies aren't made for them, etc. And others have commented, movies are made for everyone. So sorry, Ms. Larson, you're wrong. But that's what we expect from someone in a Hollywood echo chamber, someone whose idea of a hard life is growing up in a studio apartment in Burbank. Let that sit in. It's like someone living in a tiny apartment in Park Avenue in New York. Such a hard life. Especially hard when she became a child star and started winning Oscars. Yes, Brie, we know you've lived such a hard life. And we know you just have such a great and wise idea on how to empower young girls that are disenfranchised, that are less fortunate than others. I mean, you know, who needs books? Who needs scholarships? Who needs better amenities in life? Who needs opportunities they might not have? You know, that poor girl of color in that absolutely appalling state of affairs in the projects who's living in absolute poverty. No, she doesn't need scholarships. All she needs to give her everything she'll ever need to be highly successful and break out of the poverty trap is to see your movie for free. That's your idea of charity and empowerment, where watching a movie suddenly means far more than college scholarships, textbooks, work opportunities, cadetships, links to industry, and everything else that anyone with half a brain would say, you know what, this will help someone who is in poverty, who is a minority, who is disenfranchised, who doesn't have opportunities, get opportunities to get ahead. No, that stuff is just for fools. Your option, paying for them to see a 2-hour movie which doesn't benefit you in any way, shape, or form, is far more beneficial to their lives. And people wonder why people in Hollywood are stupid morons with their heads up their asses. But I digress. I'm bringing this up because it really does present a point of difference. In fact, it's interesting the point of difference that is out there at the moment. Captain Marvel is, of course, marketed as a movie for women presenting a strong female lead, and it just so happens that we have another movie that will do exactly that. A movie which, ironically, SJWs are attacking the heroine for because she's part robot or she's too pretty. When the reality is they're attacking her because she shows that she is everything that this version of Carol Danvers isn't. And that is a true hero. I am, of course, talking about Alita Battle Angel. Now, the interesting thing about this is, compare the pair, as a certain superannuation commercial out here for industry super funds would say. On one hand, you have, let's give disenfranchised girls an opportunity to completely turn their lives around, not with scholarships or things that would actually allow them to have a career and get out of the poverty trap, but by watching a movie in a self-serving show of fake philanthropy. And on the other hand, let's compare giving teenagers who are amputees bionic arms. Oh, it's a tough one. Movie, giving someone their limbs back? I can't figure it out. I mean, they're just so equally powerful in transforming lives. Yeah, I'm not even taking me seriously on that one. And as some people may be aware, and I'll put the link down in the description, James Cameron has teamed up with a bionics company to give people bionic arms. A company called Open Bionics. And what they developed is something called the Hero Arm. Now, the Hero Arm is basically, for those who haven't seen it, if you can imagine something that looks like power armor on a sci-fi character. It's sort of reminiscent to, say, the arm up to here in terms of a Halo suit for the troopers in Halo. That sort of a look, that sort of power armor type look, sort of a bit like a stormtrooper in terms of look. Not quite, say, Star Wars droid, a little bit iRobot-esque, but that sort of a look. And these are designed to just essentially slot onto an arm, and obviously you need to see a surgeon to get your arm fitted for everything with this. But it essentially gives someone who is an amputee a fully functional arm, a full use. Now, this company at the moment is just committed to producing limbs below the arm, amputees below the elbow. So people can have hands at least. I think the theory is that someone who is in a wheelchair, yes, it sucks if you're amputated, but realistically, a lot of the prostheses for legs will do the job. They might not allow you to run and walk at the same time, like with running blades with runners, you have to change them over, but they do the job, even if you've got to swap them out. Hands generally have been pretty ballsy, you have to admit. They've been pretty much a balls up. They've been the best we can do, but they've essentially been claws. And they haven't looked too great, they haven't worked too great, they haven't had that anthropomorphic touch to them. And that is what James Cameron has done here, because what James Cameron has done is he has linked with Open Bionics to develop this arm. Now, the news story, and personally I think that, look, this is wonderful, and when I heard about it, as a disclaimer, I was welling up with tears because it is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing to turn around to a kid that has nothing, has no hope of, well, I'm never really going to have proper arms, and say, oh, by the way, these are your brand new arms. Oh, and you're going to the red carpet showing of Alita Battle Angel. But more than that, we're giving you these. We're going to make sure that as you grow, you're going to get replacement arms, etc. And you're never going to have to worry about the limitations of being an amputee below the elbow ever again, or just above the elbow ever again. I mean, that's huge, but that's not the biggest part of this. If you look at Open Bionics' video, at the video of what they're talking about, and this is where I think not enough credit is being given to James Cameron, even when this is being shown. Now, James Cameron's done a lot of crazy things that have been beneficial. He's advanced movie tech, which is great for entertainment. I really think that everything James Cameron has ever done in terms of technology advancements, surveying the Titanic, all of that is a hollow, superficial, Hollywood-esque joke in comparison. And if, for some reason, you ever watch this James Cameron, don't take that as an insult. I just merely want to create a point of comparison. Because what Open Bionics say they want to do is they want to take this arm technology and they want to make it as cost-effective as possible. And these are 3D printed arms. And I was doing some research on this. I checked out their site. Their site is, for anyone who is interested, openbionics.com. And they don't list the price of the arm themselves. You've got to go through a cybernetic surgeon, a bionic surgeon, and obviously get it through them. But they do list a research option. Now, the research option is the Brunel hand. Now, the Brunel hand is listed at £1,200. Now, I want to put that in perspective for Australian viewers, for example. That's going to be, and generally it's about 70 cents in the US dollar, 70 cents in the dollar. And I'm going to allow for the Australian dollar being 50p, say, so 2 to 1. That'll be out. It might be closer to 66p, 60p, etc., in which case it's not double, it's an extra third. But even on that, even if we say that The Australian dollar is half of that amount. We are saying that for $5,000, someone who has no arms can fully recover. None of these crap claws or anything else or hooks or anything that people have had, but proper freaking arms, proper working hands. And this is James Cameron's little side project for a litre. And think about the possibilities here. And I know I'm ranting and rambling, and I don't care, because this deserves it. Think about the possibilities. In Australia, for example, okay, great, it's on the Medicare scheme. Suddenly a kid who has a horrible incident where they lose an arm, Medicare covers it. Or it becomes so low that the average health fund out there, even on the lowest care, will cover it in places like the US. I know the NHS are currently in talks, apparently, with Open Bionics to at least subsidise this, if not cover it completely. From what I was reading, at least that's how it looked. But it gets bigger than that. We keep talking about, we need to help kids in the third world, etc. And there's this guy called Fred Hollows, who Australians will know, other people in other countries may not. Look him up, he's an absolute legend. What he has given his life to is performing cataract surgery for people in the third world who can't afford it. And that might, for example, he'd go to Nepal, for example, where people aren't necessarily well off, and perform cataract surgery. And it's entirely funded by charity. Well, here's a thought. Imagine that you have Médecins Sans Frontières in Syria, or in the Sudan, or in any of these conflict zones, where people have lost an arm due to an explosion. Or when Open Bionics says, you know what, we've licked the arm, let's do the leg. And they start doing legs and get those cost effective. And Médecins Sans Frontières is able to turn around to these kids, and presumably things like solar charging, etc. for remote areas are there to help these kids. So if there's not an electricity grid, there is a way to recharge properly with these things. But imagine kids in a third world. No arms, no legs. And in that society, kids, sorry, you're pretty much, a leper at this point. You're an outcast. You will never be treated with value. Your potential will never be reached. Imagine them getting new limbs, getting a new lease on life, and being able to live in spite of everything that they should expect in that society. Because we are able to make such a difference, because bionic limbs are so affordable that we're able to save lives with them. Now, I am not a fan of the idea of download your consciousness into the internet. I am not a fan of the singularity in that regard. I think that there's too many dangers with it. I think the ability for people to be hacked, etc., just makes it too difficult, makes it too much of a danger. We can't even perfect cybersecurity now. And if you look at things like Ghost in the Shell, for example, when people have their memories hacked, for example, and it's a realistic idea. If you can adapt the brain, if you can probe the brain, understand how to create a man-machine interface, then you understand how to transfer data back and forth, and complex data. So I do have reservations about it going to that level. But bionic limbs, bionic organs, different story. And that's what this is. That's what this potentially is. I know I'm throwing my money behind Alita Battle Angel now. I mean, it looked interesting before and the reviews were great, but this just takes it to the next level. And this is arguably the best, most humane, altruistic bit of film promotion that has ever been done. Not this stupid, we're going to look good by giving kids tickets to movies, but it doesn't really do anything. Or we're going to produce tapes. I mean, yeah, okay, it was a cute thing with Bumblebee with the tapes, but what does it really do? This, on the other hand, Open Bionics, James Cameron saying, you know what I'm going to do to promote the movie? I'm not only going to give a kid who's an amputee working arms and hands and fingers and thumbs, but I'm going to work with this company to make this stuff cost effective for everyone. This is different altogether. Now, I'm going to sign off because I've been rambling for about 15 minutes, but I will say this. James Cameron needs to be nominated for an award for this. I know he didn't do it because of it, but damn it, it is what Hollywood should be doing. None of this crap, BS, virtue signaling, but actually getting in there, getting your hands dirty, rolling up your sleeves, and making a difference. Sending poor kids to movie studios is not going to do that. Giving an amputee kid working bionic arms and hands will. That is what social justice advocacy looks like, as opposed to being a social justice warrior. That is what having a social conscience as opposed to virtue signaling looks like. Compare the pair, there is no difference. There is no comparison. James Cameron, I would say I hope that all the SJWs in that little leftist radical Hollywood bubble take a long hard look at what you've done here, but they are just too trapped in their ivory towers to wake up and see what real activism, what real empowerment, what really making a difference looks like. Until next time, be kind to each other. You're worth it.